Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Everyday Black History. Now, today on Everyday Black History, we're going to be highlighting a woman by the name of Zipporah Potter Atkins. And Zipporah Potter Atkins was a free African American woman who owned land in colonial Boston. And the reason why this is important is because it was during a time when few women or African Americans owned land in the American colonies. Now, Zipporah Potter Atkins goes back, her birthday is July 4th, 1645. So before there was a United States of America, before there was an Independence Day, she was born July 4th, 1645, and she owned land in the American colonies. The purchase of her home, dated 1670, makes her the first African American to own land in the city of Boston, and she was one of the earliest African American landowners in what would become the United States. And she was born to Richard and Grace, who were slaves of Captain Robert Kane in the Massachusetts Bay Colony in the mid 1600s. Now, during that time, children born as slaves in Boston were considered free upon birth, explaining her status as a free African American in colonial Boston. Now, she took the surname of Atkins upon marriage, and it is reported that she had 6 surnames in total. But the historical importance of her is the fact that she owned land during the 1600s. She was able to purchase her property through an inheritance that she received from her father. Now, her father was a slave, but yet he was able to leave her an inheritance that she was able to use to buy land. And her property was situated on the edge of Boston's north end near a mill pond which flowed into Boston Harbor. And she owned the property while a single woman, managing to maintain control of her land through the course of her marriage. During that time, you get married and men control everything. But she was able to maintain the control of her land throughout her marriage. She owned property between the years of 1670 and 1699, and as we mentioned already, she was the first recorded African American woman to own land in Massachusetts. And the reason why we even know about this today is because a woman by the name of Dr. Vivian Johnson, who is a retired professor of education at Boston University, discovered documentation of her property records around 2009. And years of research on the part of Dr. Johnson and the governor of Boston at the time unveiled a memorial to Zipporah Potter Atkins on the Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy Greenway. And she held a talk entitled Free, Black, and Female, the Zipporah Potter Atkins Story of Home Ownership in Colonial Boston, which was at the Museum of African American History in Boston, and that took place back in May 2014. But you can understand the importance of highlighting Zipporah Potter Atkins, because there's a lot of African Americans today that don't own land. We've been free for, quote unquote free for a long time. But, she was able to have land in the 1600s in colonial Boston. And that's definitely, a huge accomplishment. So, Zipporah Potter Atkins, we thank you for your contribution to Black history and Black culture, and we salute you. Now, that concludes this episode of Everyday Black History. As we mentioned, with every episode, please continue to tune in and support. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, and the podcast is on anywhere where you can listen to podcasts. Everyday Black History. Just type us in, and you'll find us. So, thank you for your support, and stay tuned for the next episode.